Um, so now we're moving forward with another crazy actor who has done some incredible roles. We're gonna do John Q, right?
Let's do John
Yeah.
Q.
Denzel Washington. I mean, I've seen him in a lot of stuff. Like he is just another
Yeah.
phenomenal actor. Um, I don't know if you ever saw Glory.
No, I never did see
Glory.
Glory.
What is his name? Uh,
Hmm.
uh, I want to say that it was the guy who plays Ferris Bueller. Um, Matthew. Oh God, I feel like I shouldn't even. Matthew Broderick, is that his name?
Yeah, maybe.
Um, but Glory is a movie. We're not talking about Glory today, but Glory is a world or Civil War movie, and it's about Matthew Broderick. I was right. Look at me.
Nicely done.
Yeah, so he plays a colonel, and he's basically leading an all-black regiment during the Civil War, and it is absolutely, it's a very good movie. I mean, it's super super bloody, and like you're watching guys lose their legs because of a cannonball and stuff. Really good movie. Denzel Washington. I want to say that was his first movie, or his first major
Oh,
role.
wow.
Because I think Denzel Washington might have been a child actor. But anyways, really good movie. 1989. Check out Glory. I'm gonna give Glory a 10 out of 10.
Hey. That's not fair. Save
Um,
it. Save it for episode 10.
Yeah. But John Q. If you guys haven't watched it, it's a movie about a father whose son needs a heart transplant, and before I say anything, I actually thought the movie was pretty good. It is a 2002 movie, and so the pacing is very different than the pacing that we're used to now. And I actually feel like the movie should have begun at the halfway point during the climax where he takes over the hospital, by the way. He takes over a hospital at gunpoint so that his son can get this transplant. And I feel like that point forward, like 10 minutes of like the beginning of him, doing the work and, getting to know his wife and all, and his son and all that. Like you could have easily taken the first few minutes of the film and then jumped to him, all of a sudden, like, I'm going to do what I need to do, and, going in and taking over the hospital. And then you could have extended it, and I feel like it would have been a much better paced film. But again, that's because we're used to films that are a little faster than what they were in 2002. Like if you watch Crash from 2003, Academy Award winning movie, pacing is very different. I'm just throwing out films today.
People are going to have a laundry list of films
Yeah.
they got to watch after this thing.
So I feel like pacing.
John
is just,
Q.
Go ahead.
Yeah, John Q is, like you said, it's an older movie, so it's done a little bit differently, which I think, especially if you haven't seen the movie, but even if you have and you just haven't watched it in a while, I think it's really refreshing in a lot of ways. I think it's really refreshing to see not even basically, to see no CGI in a movie. I think that there's something to be said about that. Ms. Marcy. I think there's something to be said about that because you just don't get that a lot anymore. I know this is a bold statement because we've seen Denzel Washington in so much and because he's such a good actor with a lot of range. I think this is the best Denzel Washington movie that's out there. I will put my John Q. Denzel Washington up against your whatever movie Denzel Washington. Chris, edit me throwing a Pokeball with Denzel Washington flying out. Denzel Washington, I choose you. Or Beyblade.
Yeah,
Edit that in. Just edit in my Denzel Washington Beyblade, please. But I
activated my
no
trump
seriously,
card.
Denzel Washington, John Q. I swear to you, man, I think that this movie, Denzel Washington shows the most range in this movie. He's a badass. He's also a super loving father.
Yes.
He's also just a really relatable, down-to-earth working man that a lot of people, and myself included, can relate with and can relate to. He's a husband. Him and his wife in this movie have awesome chemistry. She was a phenomenal actress. And actually, this movie, I think, was casted perfectly. I think all the roles in this movie were casted really, really well, which is another really refreshing thing because, that's one of my biggest gripes with movies nowadays is that they're cast poorly.
Yeah.
They're cast for investment reasons and not based on acting prowess. But I think if you watch this movie, this is the best range that you see out of Denzel Washington. And he's phenomenal in a lot, but I don't think Denzel Washington is the kind of actor like Will Smith where his range is necessarily that. I think you see him play a standard type of character in almost every movie that he does. I think this movie was a little bit of a breath from that. He's not a cop. He's not a detective. He's not a, like you were saying, like even a soldier type. He's a father.
Yeah.
He's a father who kind of loses it because he's willing to do anything for his kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure parents all around the place can relate to that, especially with something that you don't have the money for. Which is very political, and this movie does get very political.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
doesn't just walk the line of politics. It's political. It's a political
and
statement in
too.
this
It's
movie.
got religious undertones
And religious.
and is
Yeah, and
absolutely
religious.
commentary on the healthcare system of the time
Definitely.
in the United States, which is still relevant today.
Still, unfortunately, pretty relevant when you watch this movie through. But I love this movie. I love Denzel in this. I love the fact that, like you said, the pacing is a little different. So. I will forfeit to you that it is a little bit slow at the beginning. I will forfeit that point. So it's super effective against my Denzel Pokemon.
Well,
but
it's
I will.
It's the same as Hook, which Robin Williams, I love that movie. Didn't age well because of pacing and
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Movies are
I would just ask if you haven't seen this movie and you're turned off to it by the fact, and you're watching this for some reason to get an idea of whether maybe you want to watch it or not, and you're turned off to the fact that it's a 2002 movie, please, this one is still really enthralling. I mean, once give it 20 minutes or so, once it does kind of pick up a little bit, I don't know a person that's not going to sit through the rest of that movie
I just did a 3
and hate it. Nicely done.
Yeah.
I just think the movie's too good. But my notes for this one were basically, I do think that this is Denzel Washington's best movie, which again, I'll put my Denzel Washington up against yours. So any of the listeners, comment down below what your favorite Denzel Washington movie is. And we'll see how they stack up. But I really love this one. And I think the lack of CGI in these older movies is nice. And then this one is categorized as a dramatic thriller. Like a thriller drama movie, basically.
Did you know that the doctor in this movie was 100% CGI?
Oh my God! Did you know that he's the voice of Hades?
What?
Did you pick that up?
No,
He's the voice of
that's
Hades
James
from the from the animated Hercules.
Wait, is James Wood the one I'm thinking of?
No, not James. No, whoever the guy is. I'm always bad with names, man. I'm just the common man over here, so I'm off the hook. There you go. No, the voice of the animated Hercules, Hades, the original Hercules, the voice of Hades, it's him. So his voice is just it's really fun to listen to him, and he was really good in this. It's refreshing to watch a movie that's cast well. So many of these movies, it is James Woods. Nicely done again. You're kind of on it with these quotes today, man.
Yeah, I swear we didn't prep this, guys.
Right. It's just this one was cast based on who's going to be the best fit for the role. There are a couple cheesy characters. Again, I'll forfeit that.
Yeah.
The like douchey guy who beat his wife.
Yeah. Which
he was a
we
little
kind of like towards the end because he's like, no, you can't kill yourself, bro.
Yeah, he tries to be redeeming, but I don't know. And then I'm trying to remember his name now, the actor's name, not the character's name, but his, the other black actor who was in the hospital who cut his fingers.
Yeah, he's famous.
He's very famous, and he's hilarious, too.
Brought to you by HP.
Brought to you by Chris's laptop. Yeah, man. You're gonna turn into the look it up guy if you're not careful. I'm just gonna start.
John Q.
Chris looked this up. John Q. Yeah, he's really good in this movie too. He plays his role very well.
He does, yeah, and I like. That's Eddie Griffith.
Yes.
Most of the cast does not have names. Insurance rep.
What's the name of the guy who plays the negotiator? He's real famous too. I've seen him in a lot. Actually, the negotiator and the police chief guy are both pretty famous. But the negotiator specifically, his voice is very recognizable. And I think he plays a negotiator in something else, too.
Yes, he is very famous. Oh, God, what was his name? The doctor, James Woods, Dr. Ray
He's definitely a negotiator in another film also. What's that movie where the dude is stuck in the telephone booth and there's a sniper
Phone
on
booth.
him? Phone booth.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I
That's a
think.
good movie.
Don't quote me on this, but I think he might be the negotiator in that movie too.
Maybe.
Whoever the actual negotiator in that movie is probably like, what the
Robert
hell?
Duvall is the one you're thinking of.
Yes.
A quick thing on the phone booth. That entire movie was shot, I believe, in 24 hours.
I believe
It
it.
was
Yeah,
shot
that
in
was
one
pretty.
take. Yeah.
As far as like a set goes, that was pretty straightforward. But again, just cast really well, and his son, which apparently he's in a TV show that my wife really likes.
Really?
She made sure to mention that to me, but I don't remember the show. But again, phenomenal actor. So Denzel Washington, his wife, his son, the doctor, the negotiator, the people he's stuck with, all awesome actors and actresses. This was a movie that was cast really well. And I think it's because it's from a time where they weren't so pressured to cast a movie just based on who's going to bring in the most money and who's going to get them the investment for a movie. And they cast it strictly based on who's fit for the role.
Yeah.
Please go back to that, Hollywood.
I know, for real.
I genuinely think that is diminishing movies greatly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big one. And so, what did you think of this as far as Denzel's acting or the acting from everyone else in this movie?
I mean, his acting was phenomenal. Denzel Washington did a great job in this film. I'm not gonna lie, man. I was totally crying at some parts. Like there was, like
Same.
Oh God.
I don't really cry in movies. Like I really don't. I'm usually pretty good,
I would
but
be
this
lying
one,
if I said I
this
didn't.
one had me.
I'm
Yeah,
a
this
Cancer.
one had me.
I'm a very emotional person. I absolutely cry pretty easily in films. If you're able to take me to that emotional level, once you do, I'm pretty much emotional for the rest of the film. Like, oh my God, I got her flowers.
He built the house for her.
But yeah, his acting was phenomenal. His range, you were right. He goes from father, like at the very beginning, he's just laughing with his kids. You know, they're making fun of his wife, and in the car when they're driving, and she can't say the word in a funny way, and you really do like the family unit as a whole very quickly, and so he does a very good job of just portraying that fatherly figure. He does a very good job of being that father who just will do literally anything. Like, it doesn't just go from, like, my son needs a heart transplant. Well, I've got a gun. Let's go do this. Like, he tries everything, and it's the system that breaks him. And I think that's the important thing to recognize in the film, that the system that is set up is what makes him feel like he has nowhere else to turn to.
Right, he's putting in so much work to
Yes.
submit all this paperwork and to just get help for his son. He has no other option.
Just
Right,
to
and the
raise
system
a few
lets him down.
$1,000s. I mean,
When you put it in the perspective of it being your kid dying,
yes.
and they're not willing to fix him because of a dollar amount, it's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow, man.
Absolutely.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
And he's making so much money, and when he's begging the doctor, and it's funny because watching that and now knowing that he's got a gun on him the entire time, and he's telling the doctor, hey, can we have a conversation? When you watch that scene, you're literally seeing Denzel Washington's character, John, just kind of like, what do I have to say so that I don't have to pull this gun on you?
Right, he's like, please don't
Like-
make me do this, but I am not going to stop. He
Yeah.
had already made up his mind. I am not going to stop until my son gets a new heart.
Yeah.
Until my son gets a new heart. This movie, so again, going back to the category of this movie, the genre, it's a dramatic thriller. And it kind of made me realize that I think thrillers may be one of, if not my favorite genres. And it's like, I think the thriller genre to this day translates so well to film. It's like sci-fi and thriller are probably hand in hand for me as far as just what movies I seem to enjoy the most. But damn, do thriller movies translate well to film. I mean, you are like, there's a lot of points in this movie where you're like basically sweating.
Yeah.
I mean, this is stressful. And
I thought he was
in
dead
film,
at
you
the
can
end.
see. Yeah.
Like-
Yeah, I did too. The first time I saw it, and I've seen this movie multiple times. This has been a favorite of mine for a long time. I don't even remember the first time I saw this movie. But it's crazy because a lot of people have not seen this.
No, I haven't.
And especially a lot of people our age, a lot of people in their 20s. would not know John Q. So unfortunately, they're probably going to see this podcast, and it's going to be a bit of a deterrent. But I'm telling you guys, if you haven't seen this one, or if you have and you're still with us, I'm interested to know what you think. I think this is a phenomenal movie, and we love Denzel Washington for all of his roles. He's always good. He's another one of those powerhouse actors that really doesn't miss the mark. But boy, does he have some range in this one, and this is, to me, his best work. But yeah, I think thrillers translate so well to film. I think that has got to be one of the best genres for these movies.
I thought it was really cool how the movie opened up with the Ave Maria. Like that opera, like that. I mean, it's obviously a religious song, but I was just watching the movie at the beginning, and I was like, why are we seeing this lady? And then all of a sudden jump to the whole movie. I was just kind of like, something is going to connect to this moment later.
Yeah.
And as it got closer and closer, I was like, I think I see where this is going. I mean, it was just like, and he said, I'm waiting for a miracle. I'm waiting for an act of God.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, oh God, that accident, that poor,
See, you're more attuned to that than me then, because I swear when I first watched that movie, and when I even almost still watch that movie, I always forget. They get me. Like, enough happens between that initial car crash scene and him getting the heart at the end.
Yeah.
Enough happens to where I always forget about it. And then all of a sudden I see it at the end, and it's like, dang it, yes, like that's how this ends.
But it's
that's
funny because I thought it was going to end. I thought, I saw it coming eventually, but I thought it was going to be like, we have a heart. Oh no, he killed himself. I thought it was going to be that, and I was like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me? Like, just answer her on the walkie-talkie. Answer her. Like, I was just like,
right.
It was so stressful. And then he pulls the trigger, and the safety is on, and like he starts crying right there. Like, that hurt me so much, because like, the amount of willpower that you have to do to end your own life in order to save your son, and then have it backfire, and like, oh my God, dude, like that must have been shattering for him. And then that whole conversation where he's basically having like every talk he needs to have with his son over the course of like 2 minutes, where he's just like, like, I know you're too young for women, but one day, and he's just, telling him like, don't give up, make the money. Like, and I was just like, oh my God, this is like every father in the audience that watched this movie was probably in tears.
It's a nightmare. That's such a nightmare.
Yeah.
But again, that begs the question, and I asked this question to you, and now Chris and I, neither of us have kids, so okay, maybe we'll just use like our dogs even as an example, but how far would you be willing to go if that was your kid? Mm-hmm. And can you blame him for taking those actions? Because I think that's why this movie is so good, in a sense, is that it's so relatable.
Yeah.
Just in the sense that, I mean, dude, if it was your kid, and they're basically telling you, sorry, man, you don't have enough money. Here's this millionaire doctor telling you don't have enough money to do this surgery. And that's your kid. Like, dude, I think a lot of parents would probably go to that point.
Yeah. And what's even worse, I thought he was going to rob a bank or something, but like, he went a different route.
Yeah.
But to have the doctor like say that he can't save this guy who got shot in the stomach, and then he saves him. Like, it's clearly, it's that he didn't want to put the time into saving that gunshot victim. It's not that he can't, like,
Yeah, you kind of hate that doctor.
Oh my God.
But he kind of redeems himself, but at the same time, I don't know.
That was one thing that I didn't like, was like, all of a sudden he's like, you know what, I'm going to do the right thing. Like, all of a sudden he's a good person.
Right, at the very end, he's like, you know what, let's do it.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like, sure. Like, it was enough of a character switch for me to pull me out of the story for just a moment. It didn't feel natural, and like the character that we had seen, it kind of felt a little forced, but it wasn't enough to pull me out of the movie.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm trying to.
So, what did you think of him? What did you think of him getting sentenced? Because I don't know if you picked up on this, and I didn't the first time I watched it either. But he obviously is not guilty of attempted murder. He's not guilty of what was the first charge? I don't even remember. He basically was only guilty of like
kidnapping,
like kidnapping, essentially. And you hear, it's not even like, it's almost like you only catch it if you have the closed captioning on, but you hear his lawyer basically saying the maximum sentence for this is 5 years.
3 to 5.
Or the judge isn't going to get more to 5. I'm going to try to get him like 3.
Yeah,
I think she said.
I watched it last night, so I remember he said that the maximum sentence is, she said the judge isn't going to give him more than 3 to 5. I think I can get him down to 2.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he does get arrested. I mean, again, if he gets 2 years, 1 year with good behavior kind of thing, pretty small punishment. But really, what did he do? You know what I mean? He didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
In fact, he helped the people that were coming into the hospital.
And it was an empty gun the whole time.
It was an empty gun the whole time, which obviously kept him from getting indicted on an attempted murder charge. I love this story, man. I think it's a great nod to some of the earlier thriller films. Yeah. Denzel Washington could not have been better in this, and they could not have picked a better character for him. His wife and child were phenomenal actors. It's really touching. It does get a little overly political at the end, where you're watching like the talk shows and stuff, and like they start like all of a sudden it becomes like a fact-based thing where you're watching like
the election year that happened when this movie came out. Like George Bush and all that. That was big.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very smart. I didn't even think about the timing at which this movie came out in 2002.
George Bush is on at the very beginning.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal point that you picked that up. I didn't. That completely went over my head that this thing came out right around the election year.
That's why I mentioned Crash, because Crash is another one of those. Have you ever seen Crash?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's another one of those movies that is. I can't really explain what the movie's about. It's a bunch of different stories that all kind of come together at the end, but it is the biggest thing about it is like race and class
disparity.
Thank you, and so it's just a product of the times. It's a product of its environment. So like you watch it now and it's kind of like, okay, like you're being like everything was a little too on the nose, and like all the points of view were being forced on us in the film. But it won Academy Awards, and it's because it was one of those films that needed to happen at the time. So, just like this.
All right, fair enough. This movie is another example of why Rotten Tomatoes is useless. Dude, this movie got a 23% critic score. That's worse than Gemini Man. 23% critic score, 78% audience score. Chris, edit my Denzel Washington Pokemon being blasted by the Rotten Tomatoes Pokemon.
Is he evolving?
I don't know, dude. I don't know what's happening, but he's getting beat bad, dude. Yeah. He's getting beat bad. But so what did you think of this one? And be honest, if you give it lower than like a 9 out of 10, you can pretty much consider this podcast over with. But be honest, unbiased. No, seriously, what did you think of this one, Chris?
I'm drinking tequila. Hang on. So I went into it not really knowing anything, and I was trying to, like I do with most older films, just try to see it from a point of view of the time and not of my point of view, not my current, time period, time frame. And so I watched the film. Like I said, I really thought that the opening shot was interesting. I liked that it started with the Ave Maria. It kind of set me up for like some religious undertones, and a shot of the rosary there on the mirror.
On the mirror.
And so I kind of knew going into it that this was going to be, the theme of the entire movie is faith. It's about having faith. And and so it was, I knew going into what it was going to be. I thought the family was super well done. Like, you totally like them. The kid, like his the little muscle pose that he does, I thought was freaking adorable. The acting is just phenomenal. The use of music is subtle. Some of the points of view politically are a little on the nose, but like overall, like I thought it was a very, very good movie. Pacing wise, like I said, if it was just edited to today's standards, I feel it would jump a little higher for me as far as like score. But overall, I thought it was a very good movie. I absolutely was enthralled the entire time. And so I'm somewhere between I would say. I would give it like a 7.5. Like, it was a good movie. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. It's definitely it's worth a watch for sure. If you've never seen it, you should watch it. It is very good. It's a good film, and it is a great representation of one of the best black actors that's ever graced film ever. Like Denzel Washington delivers an incredible performance, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won an Academy Award for this, honestly.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. So there it is. So what are you giving it, 7.5?
I think so. Somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8 is what I would say. I think that's a little fairer.
I think that is fair. I'm a little biased. This is one of those movies that I just really like. Sometimes you can't even... yeah, this is just a movie that I like. Every time I watch it, I like it. I agree with you. It's not a perfect movie. I think it's the best Denzel Washington movie that's out there, and I'll put that up against anybody's pick. So let me know what you think. But this one for me gets a 9 out of 10 as a dramatic thriller, especially considering the time that this movie was filmed. The political statements are, like you said, a little too on the nose. That was well said, and I completely agree with that. They're a little too on the nose. It does start out a little bit slow, but I think that Denzel Washington's acting in this, the casting choices, the suspense, and kind of the unpredictability of this movie, it just really, I don't know, it spoke to me. I really liked this one. I think it's a fun movie. Like you said, if you haven't seen it, I think you should watch it. I would recommend this to anybody, even younger people. If you got kids or whatever, go give this a watch. I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
So that's it. I'm giving it a 9. And there you go. That is the Critic and the Common Man review of John Q. Another movie like all of these today you can find on Amazon Prime. This one's from back in 2002. Yeah. So John Q, drama thriller, Denzel Washington at his best. That's it. Comment down below what you think. Let us know if you think Denzel Washington's better in another movie, and we'll see about that. But that's it.